All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are multiplying rational expressions. So step one, factor everything. Yay! Right? We always factor everything. First step, always factor everything we can. So I'm going to factor the top. This is not going to have that because there's no constant term at the end. I notice that I can factor out an x and I can factor out a 2. So I'm going to factor out 2x. Excuse me. And that's going to leave me with x minus 5. And then in the denominator here, this is a perfect square. So it multiplies to be negative 25, adds to be 0. That's x minus 5 and x plus 5 times. Well, x plus 3 isn't going to factor at all. And 2x squared isn't going to factor at all. So now I can just multiply everything together. 2x times x minus 5 times x plus 3. And that's over x minus 5 times x plus 5 times 2x squared. All right, and now x minus 5's cancel. Excuse me. The 2's cancel. And it looks like I got an x in the numerator and x squared in the denominator, so one of those x's is going to cancel. So what do we have left? We've got an x plus 3 in the numerator, and then we have an x times x plus 5 in the denominator. And that's our final answer. X plus 3 over x times x plus 5. Again, if you're having trouble with this, please make sure you stop what you're doing right now and ask a question before you move on, okay? So let's go ahead and look at division now, which is the same, right? It's just you got to remember that when we divide fractions, we flip and multiply. So dividing and multiplying are very similar. Just this middle step here is different. We factor everything, but then instead of multiplying straight across, we flip and multiply. And then we divide out any of those common terms. So let's look at an example. So here we have 7x divided by 2x minus 10 divided by x squared minus 6x over x squared minus 11x plus 30. So step one, always factor everything. Factor, factor, factor. So 7x here, nothing can factor out. 2x minus 10, I notice that there is a 2 in both terms. So I can factor out a 2 and get an x minus 2 times x minus 5. And now I'm dividing. I notice that I can factor an x out of this top one. So that's x times x minus 6 over. And then I can't do an x or anything here. So I got multiplies to be 30, adds to be negative 11. That's going to be x minus 6 times x minus 5. Now, here's the part where we remember we're dividing, right? So we're dividing, which means that we flip and multiply. So this thing over here gets flipped, and then we multiply across. So we flipped the divisor, and we multiply across. So this is 7x times x minus 6 times x minus 5 over 2 times x minus 5 times x minus 6. And so we cancel out common factors. Notice there's an x minus 5 that can cancel. There's an x minus 6 that can cancel. And there's an x that can cancel. So what are we left with? 7/2. That's our final answer here, because all other common factors canceled out, and we're just left with 7/2. All right, I got one last example for you back on your canvas. Please go check that out, and we will see you in the last video.